Today, I am bringing you quite possibly the worst INU tournament game that I've ever seen. It features a team building error by literally turn 3 of the game, and it features some of the most impactful hacks you will ever see, yet also some of the most minimal hacks ever, in that there's really not a ton that happens. It's just the hacks that does occur happens to completely shift the game entirely. If you've been enjoying this kind of tournament coverage, we've been doing a little bit more lately. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We are very close to 4,000. Everyone, if you're not subbed right now and you go subscribe, we would hit 4,000 literally tonight. So let's get it done. Now looking at preview. Golurk from PokeSlice absolutely obliterates OPP's team. There is no ground immunity, which means this team needs to be binned. Just get rid of it. Not viable. And the Ghost Resist is a Scrafty. And I'm not sure about you, but if I have to allow Scrafty to pivot into Poltergeist on the same team where I don't have anything to prevent Golurk from EQing the whole game, I'm feeling a lot less good about my odds. Now, the caveat here, of course, is this is the NU suspect test slot. So Silvally Ground isn't around as a mon, which means that maybe relying on Mudsdale as your generic ground check, Whimsicott, throw it into because it's a good resist when you run these bulkier utility sets, and then pairing up with Wish support, it does work okay, because Horse ain't getting two-shot by nothing. Not from full, at least. And it's pretty easy for Vaporeon to Wish Pass into it. So I get the angle, but it's like a team-building sin that I'm going to constantly remind you guys of. Always have a ground immunity. I don't care what meta you're playing. I don't care if ground-type moves are banned. Just bring one. So keep it on this Golurk. Particularly on turn, 2 or 3. Just keep in mind. So we see Mantine led versus Mudsdale. Mantine in this tier basically always has Scald plus Hurricane. And this kind of team has not a lot of answers to Scald Hurricane coverage. Vaporeon is, of course, a great one, but Vapo lead isn't likely. So he takes this as a turn to just Scald, and he gets a burn immediately. This is, of course, incredible, because it means Golurk just exerts its will over Mudsdale. This mon ain't threatening you with EQ anymore, and if the horse ever switches out, he's actually already in range of a Poltergeist, which is pretty dirty, and of course easily in range of 2 EQs. So he gets the burn. He will of course double here, because either Mudsdale stays in and throws up a Toxic, in which case he might just be willing to let Golurk take that trade if it means getting to just start punching holes, or he predicts the Vapo double. And Vaporeon Scald versus Golurk. I'm going to let you in on this little secret right here, a little trick of the trade. Scald is weaker than Surf. So, if this is how much Surf does, Scald definitely will not be two-shotting, or one-shot, I should say. So Vapo comes in. And remember what I said, by turn 3, we're going to see something very interesting happen. So you ever see a Golurk miss a Poltergeist? Yeah. This is not no-guard Golurk, this is Iron Fist, and that was not intentional from Slice. So Golurk straight up misses Poltergeist. Takes a Scald for his trouble. This would have been a 2-shot. He would have put in a lot of work had he landed that Polter. Instead, now, he's stuck revealing that he's Grass Knot Heliolisk as he goes for it, predicting Horse, of course, because you want to make sure this doesn't get the Wish Pass if you can avoid it. That way it always stays in range of your Golurk's 2-shot. And he also reveals U-turn Helio. Now, this isn't as egregious as forgetting your ability on Golurk, but I will say that I think U-turn Helio is a bit meh. Especially in this suspect test slot, this match, I don't think you need it. There's not a Silvally Ground, and I would, at least my perspective of it is, U-turn Heliolisk is okay in the Silvally Ground version of Sword and Shield NU. Because you don't want to give it free setup. If you want to pivot, you don't want to let it maybe block your pivot, come in and threaten, Sword Stance or something, right? So U-turn's nice to make sure you can always pivot, keep up momentum on it, keep getting chip on it, potentially in tandem with hazards, etc., etc. That's not a problem in this meta, so I don't really vibe with it. But he U-turns on that, brings out a Silvally Fairy to eat up the knock, and he's going to be able to double pretty easily here, as he predicts maybe Raja to come in. So he goes back to Lurk. Unfortunately, he beats it with Salazzle. So, yeah, this is not a winning matchup. So you gotta switch again, bring back in the Tine, and he is gonna get Sludge Bomb poisoned immediately. Which is not the greatest. It's not the worst in this specific matchup. but it definitely could have been a better turn. And then we see the Vapo come out, which means Heliolisk will always come out. But first, a Defog, because why not? And honestly here, I would just Scald. I mean, the Vaporeon has to switch anyway, and I don't think I'd let this Wish Pass go through to Mudsdale, as I accidentally reset the whole battle. Let's get back to where we were. So, he decides instead to switch to Heliolisk as a Heal Bell comes out. This ends up being a good play at least. The Horse burn is cleansed, but it's not a huge deal. And we see OBB just go for a Wish, because this Heliolisk, it ain't one-shotting Vaporeon with a damn T-Bolt. So Mantine comes back out. This time Horse does re-enter because we saw how little Scald did on turn 1. So Horse can always take a Scald from that range and then just receive the Wish, get back near full. Anyhow, we see turn 1 replay. I don't know how we got back to turn 1, but the exact same thing happens. Just a little bit more damage from Scald. The Scald into Burn, into Rock Set. And then Whimsicott's going to come out because you may as well avoid having your Horse take even more Scald chip. And then the stack is always a free switch. We're going to just see momentum, my beloved. Mantine can kind of always just come back in versus Horse here. As he goes for Golurk, though, predicting a rock. That does not happen. OBB said, I've had enough of this stupid Golurk lurking in the back. He does pop up with the Quake. Very good advantage to get because, like, Lurk is slower than most of this team. Well, Lurk is slower than 2 of the Mons on the team. But if Horse is able to ever get Wishes, or if Whimsy's just at full, it is going to be kind of hard long-term for Golurk to feel all too useful. So, Sly's kind of willing to exert it there and see if he can get it in for free. OBB kind of willing to just throw off the Quake and be like, well, it's not the most annoying Mon, but if I can get rid of it, may as well, you know? It also means there's like less pressure to Wish with this, or Wish Pass into this. It's not as big a deal to have it around. You still want it to be around because it is also your best way of taking CC, potentially. It or Whimsicott, one of those two. And yeah, Whimsicott comes in on a U-turn, as you don't want to let your Horse get Grass Knotted. And then the stack gets knocked. This is a free turn to Rock up. So, Rocks go up. And then Encore Lock into this Whimsicott, it's absolutely demonic. Now you're going to just see it throw off Moonblast. And yeah, there's not really a great Moonblast switch into here. So, Fairy Valley comes out. It takes over half from one, over half of what the HP it had was. And now he has to immediately switch again to get Stack in, but he's just going to keep taking chip. And slowly but surely, that Salazzle endgame is looking feasible. So, keep an eye on that Salazzle. Horse comes back in. He's going to try to Rock up. You want to at least be able to match the hazards if you're not going to be able to keep them off the field yourself. Heliolisk comes back in because you know Grass Knot can KO this, and there's not really a lot of great switch-ins anyway to Helio on OBB's team. So like Whimsicott comes in on the Grass Knot here, but it's basically going to just U-turn immediately. Is he actually Moonblast there? That's my bad. This must not be H-Voice. But Whimsicott being your best check, not really the best. But again, we're seeing Stack just slowly but surely get weakened, as he gets a little bit of body press chip on the incoming Vaporeon, which will be wishing here. So Helio comes out. And now I'm here to tell you right now, this is dire. Because I don't think this Thunderbolt was KOing. If we switch to Calc over to SS, right? Heliolisk, it's not Scarf, but it is not a boosting item either. I believe it was Boots. Vaporeon in this you actually just runs some special defense. I think this Calc, it was for a Blastoise Calc, but it does something for Starmie too, but obviously it helps still for Helio. Yeah, you ever see a super effective Thunderbolt get outstalled by Wish Protect leftovers? So this crit here sucks. I'm guessing he was gonna Heal Bell, just get the Horse back. Instead he loses Vaporeon entirely, and this is pretty tragic, because it starts opening the game for the Scarf Passimian a ton. Slice even said it after the fact. He's like, yeah, there wasn't really a ton of hacks, but the one crit I got was all I really needed. And why is it so important? Well, now you don't have Vaporeon to protect around Passimian. And you don't have Vaporeon to get your Horse back to full, or your Whimsicott back to full. So past CC is starting to look like a pretty juicy win condition. So, of course, Scrap comes out. You can always U-turn. Mantine can beat this Mon 1v1. It's not the greatest time, but it is a favorable matchup. And of course, too, Mantine actually has a pretty solid time against these remaining 5. You will see that end up not mattering whatsoever, though, as this Mantine all of a sudden gets knocked. And then Raja comes in, as it roosts again. And Big Raj is going to say, hello, Mantine. You will not be beating me on this pleasant, I don't remember when they played, Friday afternoon. I will be beating you. I will not get skulled like my horse friend. I will rock slide it and I will whip. Watch me slide and watch me whip, and now watch me nay-nay, because oof. Yeah. So this Mantine, I think, probably could have been more useful, but the thing is, you don't need it. Because you got the pass. Scarf Pass can contain a lot this game, and I think as long as you're able to force Salazzle to take some heal, even if, I mean, literally the chip could be on the CC itself. This Whimsicott, as we saw, isn't boots. So you're not worried about it coming in. And it's also at 64, so it's getting 2-shot, right? You 2-shot everything at this point in the game. So all Pass really needs to do is force Lazzle to take chip at some point, and it'll be golden. So Lazzle comes in. Of course, you're not KOing it from full. Then there's this miss. And I will say, I think this miss is just as impactful as the T-Bolt crit. Why is that? Well, what this miss does here is it allows Heliolisk to get a little bit of T-Bolt damage off on Lazzle. Now, I actually don't think the Fire Blast was a guaranteed one-shot or anything. Yeah, it was gonna do a lot, though. Okay, you know what? I will say this. Since he missed the Fire Blast, it's not as big a deal. Actually, no, it is. Duh. You land a Fire Blast, you KO with Sludge Bomb. That's why it's a huge deal. My bad. When I go through these videos, sometimes my mind gets a little bit jumbled. And I forget the original points that I was making when I was thinking up as I'm watching the battle before I hit record. But yeah, the Fire Blast was sucks because now you actually take chip with Lazzle. Now it's in CC range very, very easily. If you'd hit the Fire Blast, it wouldn't get to get that little T-Bolt chip. So now Pass comes out, and yeah, I CC you. The only thing that avoids now at Oko is your Whimsicott. And I'm here to tell you right now, this mon ain't very far out of range anyway. I still, by the way, as an aside, I still can't figure out what this thing's item is. Because it never shows helmet the whole game. And it obviously isn't boots because it's taking chip from rock. So I don't know if this was like a random resist berry. I don't know if this was like itemless for Poltergeist immunity. I don't know what it was. But it sure as hell was not intimidating. So Slice, of course, is going to out-trade the Whimsicott. He doesn't even go for Heavy Slam. He just body presses the Whimsicott. Of course, Raja comes in. It is not tanking this body press. Not one bit. And Scrafty's could come out here. I think this got crit, didn't it? Let's see. What am I remembering right? Yeah, it got crit. The crit doesn't matter, though. All he needed to do was get chip on the Scrafty with his Stakataka and make sure that it was going to be in range of CC. And with how low Staka was, Scrafty was never going to be able to Drain Punch enough health back. It would have had to go for, like, Rest and get Omega Lucky, which didn't happen. So that's the story of how Pokeslice won one of the most just depressing games ever to watch. I hope y'all enjoyed this, of course. Let me know down below if you keep enjoying this kind of content I can keep making for y'all. I will see you in the next video. Peace.